Hey guys, it's been a while since I've done this kind of video, and um, I've titled it Finding My Voice for a reason. Today, after church, when I'm recording this, it's really late on a Sunday night, which is why my lighting is what it is. And I was praying about a lot of things, and I really clearly felt the Spirit say, it's time to speak. I, this year, have been really going in deep on my mental health coaching business. For those of you that don't know, hi, I'm Candace. I am a mental health coach. I usually work with millennial moms who are in the creative industries of some kind, arts, writing, even things like baking, things like that. But I haven't talked a lot about my faith recently. And that's because I've been wrestling with a lot of things over the last 3 years. Obviously, a lot has happened, and there's a lot in this world that is really hard to grapple with. And that's not to say I lost my faith along the way. It's just that I have been working out my salvation with fear and trembling, as the scripture says. And I know what I'm here to do. But what has been a struggle over the last year or so is a place of belonging. And I know there's a lot of people out there that struggle with that. You struggle with a place of belonging. And that is something that I set out to create when I very first came into this coaching space. I just didn't know how to say it. I didn't know how to express it. And I didn't know what form it would take. So if you found yourself here and you're like, well, what does that have to do with finding your voice? I'm about to tell you. But I also want to tell you that if you are feeling like you are wondering if there's a place for you to belong, if you are a Christian who has looked at the atrocities of the Western church and you've thought, this isn't what Christ wanted, if you are a Christian who has deconstructed and reconstructed and you are still looking for ways to bolster your mental health, this might be a place for you. What this has to do with finding my voice is that I have spent a lot of my time comparing myself to other people and thinking, well, this person is in this space and this person is in this space, so there's no room for me. There's no room for someone that looks like me. And by that, I mean my size. We are often discounted. And I know from living life as someone who has been all sizes, it's easy for me to discount myself sometimes when I look at myself. But I know what I'm here for. I saw a post today of a woman who was talking about her publishing journey and how she thought it would get easier with each book, and it's just gotten harder. And her mental health has been on shaky ground this year. And honestly, that is relatable to so many people. And that's why I do what I do. But I'm afraid of talking about, not now. I have been afraid in the past of talking about why I do what I do. Because again, I am comparing myself to others. And something that I brought up recently, I actually created what is it? Digital art around whose voices we're listening to. And if we're not listening to the right voices, we can like discount ourselves. And so when it comes to mental health for Christian creators, that is like top of mind for me. The church has not historically done a great job with mental health. And I'm speaking as someone who has worked in ministry, who has worked full-time in a church, and who is also mental health trained. I have my degree in counseling psychology. I was a licensed marriage and family therapist in Oklahoma before we moved to Washington. I have not been able to transfer my license as of yet. I don't know if that's going to happen. But I also have trauma training. I have training in stress management coaching. I have training in art therapy. I have training in trauma CBT. I have a wide array of training. So I'm not coming at this as someone who's just like read a couple books and I'm like, oh, I'm good to go. I've actually taken the tests and I have done all the work. And it's important to me because I see artists, I see authors, I see creatives, people who run their own businesses and who put their art out there and who create things. And I see them struggling because of some aspect of the business, or I see Christians in those positions struggling because maybe they're not overt enough with their faith. And so people say, well, you can't be, this isn't Christian art. I've seen this for musicians and authors, especially. If your music is not screaming Jesus in every word, then you can't be a Christian singer. You can't be a Christian author if Jesus is not on every page of that book. And that's just not the way that it works. And so for me, what I want to do here is help artists, authors, creatives, musicians, just creators in general, have a place to belong. I specifically want to help female creatives, creative women, creative moms have a place to belong. And I don't know what that's going to look like moving forward. My channel has been about my coaching, and I know I want to keep it about my coaching, like the mental health stuff, but really I want to talk about mental health in light of motherhood, faith, and creativity, because that is the intersectionality of what I am passionate about, what I am trained for, and what I live out every day. As an author who has been struggling to find her place in the Christian author space, it's really important to me that we have a place to belong. Again, I don't know what that means for this moving forward, but my husband had been talking to me and he's like, just put it out there. And I said, well, I don't know if I can put it on my YouTube channel because it's been a space for coaching. And honestly, it really hasn't been, because I haven't really done anything with it. And so I want this to be that place, because I want my Instagram, my author TikTok to be to find readers, to connect with readers who want to read my books. But I need a place to talk about these things, to put these things out there. And I do have a blog, but blogging isn't what it used to be. And I want a place where those thoughts can reach people that maybe don't find the blog, but would watch a video or listen to a podcast maybe. And so on this channel, that's what I'm going to explore. I'm going to explore mental health in light of creativity and faith, but also I'm going to add in motherhood, because that's currently what my membership is about. And if you're like, oh, you have a membership, I do. I have a membership. It's for creative moms. And I would like to possibly create one just for authors, but I don't know if or when that's going to happen. But for now, I would still like a wider platform where I can talk to other creatives, other female creatives in these spaces who are struggling with belonging, struggling with their identity, struggling with their mental health, or who just want that extra support, or extra like, hey, I'm not the only one. Or if they're going through a dip, they know that there's a place they can go to help them come back up. That's what I want to create. And I think that that's probably going to be the best use of any YouTube channel and possible podcasts that I create. So what that looks like going forward is that I'm going to do my best to record more videos talking about faith, talking about mental health, talking about creativity, and finding my voice again. Really trying to myself out there in a way that I haven't done in about a year. To be honest, it feels really vulnerable and it feels really foreign, even though I used to do it far more often. And finding time as a wife, as a stay-at-home mom, as a business owner, as an author in the middle of NaNoWriMo is probably not the best time to start this, but here we are, because honestly, this actually is something that came up this weekend where I just, actually this week in general, there's just been some times where I'm like, wow, it's really hard to find your place in the Christian author world. It's really hard to find your place as an author when there's just so much happening. And, um, as we're just starting out. And so if I'm going to use my other social media to connect with readers, I want a place to also connect with other authors, to connect with other creatives, to connect with other artists. And this morning, something that I thought of. So I've been praying about this like all day, because really yesterday was kind of in this bubble, a low point in this like sense of like I want a place to belong, for me personally. And so I've been thinking about this and praying about this, and along with God, like really putting in my heart, like it's time to speak. And I know that this is just the first step, because I know there's some stuff that he's like been pushing me to speak out on that I haven't done yet. And that's where finding my voice also comes in. But I mean, these last 4 years have impacted people so dramatically. And he really impressed upon me to start to create a space to connect Christian creatives, specifically writers and authors, but all creatives who feel like they don't have a place. And the way that I worded it this today in my, I created an Instagram reel. I talked about people who, artists and creatives who have deconstructed and reconstructed their faith and are still trying to find their way in the church, trying to find a place to belong. People that are Christians, but they're creating art that may not be overt. Maybe it's more like subversive messages, but they're still using messages of hope and light and love in their music, in their art, in their writing. Or maybe you're a Christian creator who's doing something that doesn't even have an overt message, like baking people cakes or creating other arts and crafts that's not like, you can't like make everything a cross or whatever it is, but a place for Christian creatives who feel like they're on the fringes is what God keeps putting in my mind. Like they feel like they're on the fringes and they can't be brought in because there's someone on the inside of their creative sphere that's saying, you're not doing Christian art right. You're not doing it right. You can't, basically the you can't sit with us mentality. And God really impressed upon me to remind me that people don't get to determine Christian art. Historically, art was, if you were a believer and you were creating something that showed the beauty of creation, the beauty of Christ, the beauty of love and light in the world, you were creating Christian art. You were putting art out there that made people feel something, that moved them. And so even in today's world, like we have to really be careful with who we're saying can't fit in certain spaces. And if God calls us, it's our job to create what he's called us to create. And I know some people who have a certain argument would be like, well, he's not calling you to create Christian art, then he's calling you to create, whatever. No, God's calling you to create something. If God's calling you to create something and you create the thing, that's it. It doesn't matter what labels you put on it. It doesn't matter if someone else would label it what you label it. We are called to do what we are called to do the way we are called to do it. And there are basic messages that always align with his word, but they don't have to be on the nose. Like they don't have to be so on the mark that they push people away. And Christian art, Christian fiction, Christian music can be gritty. It can wrestle with darkness. It can wrestle with the things that we struggle with. And there are a million different ways we can serve others, that we can use our art to reach the world. And then hopefully when they see our lives and they see what we do and they notice something about us, then they will, I wonder what this is. And there's a lot of judgment in the world, but there's also a lot of judgment in Christian spaces. And so God, it's impressed upon me, I want to create a space for those authors that feel like they're judged just for doing what God called them to do, or musicians, or musicians, artists, writers, authors, whomever. And that's really important to me because it really has felt like the last few years there's been a rift, there's been a split. And honestly, we've seen things. We've seen people react in ways that don't reflect Christ, that they're still bearing the mantle of Christ, but we've also seen people that do reflect Christ, that carry the mantle of Christ, that other people are saying, but you're not really carrying the mantle correctly. It doesn't look like I thought it should look, so you're not really carrying the mantle correctly. And that's what I want to squash. That's what I want to create a space for, is for those people who are like, but I'm carrying the mantle. I'm doing what God called me to do. I'm doing what I need to do. And they know that someone out there is pointing the finger at them and saying it's not enough, or it doesn't live up to their expectations of it, or it doesn't match their view. But if you dig deep enough, everyone's got their own stuff that's not lining up with the mantle of Christ. I guarantee if you look under the surface of any of those people that are acting like modern day Pharisees, you will see stuff that does not line up. You will see ways that they are not living out the love of Christ. And so for them to point the finger at you and you internalize that, that's really hard. And I get it because I've been there, because I'm walking that. So point being, that's the space I want to create. I don't know who this is going to resonate with. I wasn't even going to film this tonight. And then I couldn't shake what God was telling me earlier. And I know the lighting isn't great. And honestly, because I'm a mom and because life is crazy, this might end up being how I film everything from now on, because I don't know when else to do it. But tonight I couldn't not do it. I just felt moved. I don't even know who this is going to reach. I don't know where this is going to lead, but I couldn't not do this. I couldn't not talk about giving people a space to belong. I couldn't not talk about giving people a community where mental health for the Christian creator takes priority, mental health for the Christian female creator specifically, especially moms, but just Christian female creators in general. We're not okay. Christian female creators in general are not okay. So this is a space for you too. If you don't mind a little bit of faith talk, this is a space for you too. I'm just putting that out there because creatives need a place where their mental health takes priority, and they need a place where someone reminds them that it's okay that their mental health takes a priority. And Christian creators especially need to know that it's okay to take your mental health seriously, and it doesn't have to be always this super spiritual, I have to go talk to my pastor about it every time. God specifically gave us people to study these things to know what they're all about. And I have so many things that I have just been holding on to this year that I'm about to break wide open. God really impressed on me today. It's time to speak. And that's what I'm going to do, because it's time to speak. So this is step 1, part 1 of finding my voice. And I'm going to go from there. So I'll see you guys next time.